A Prince Freddie sleep story. The full moon shift. Prince Freddie had made a promise at the lighthouse. He had made it some months ago, sitting alone in the lantern room at the top. He was reading the keeper's notebook by the light of the beam. The keeper had not been there, only the jacket on the chair, the cold thermos, the log of every night recorded in the same steady hand. But the notebook had said something that stayed with Freddie. The light does not know which night it will be needed. This is why it comes on every night. He had decided that evening that on the full moon he would come back. He would sit in that room and keep watch. Freddie did not know if it still worked. That was not the point. He set out in the late afternoon, when the moon was already visible in the pale sky. She was patient and round. She was waiting for her turn. The path up the cliff was familiar. The rosemary was low along the track. The sea appeared through gaps in the rock as he climbed. The lighthouse grew from a white point to a proper structure with its lantern room dark at this hour. He settled at the base of the lighthouse wall. The stone held the warmth of the afternoon. The sun was finishing. The sea went from gold to copper to the deep moving grey of a winter evening. Then the moon took over. She laid a long, bright road from the horizon to the shore. Freddie watched. The lights of boats moved across the water in their ordinary patterns. Fishing boats were working close in. A cargo vessel was far out, making south. A smaller lamp further along the coast was probably a tender from the marina. Then, around midnight, something changed. There was a light far out, further than the fishing boats. It was taking its time. It moved slowly. It paused and adjusted its heading. Not lost exactly, more like a ship choosing its approach carefully. Like what you do when you are not in a hurry to arrive. Nobody looking casually at the sea would have noticed. But Freddie had been watching for 4 hours. He saw it. He did not know its story. He thought his companionable thoughts. He thought about the harbour entrance, which he knew well. He thought about the gap between the breakwaters and the particular line of the channel. He thought about the lighthouse beam sweeping its regular arc. He thought about the water being deep enough and the wind being reasonable. He thought about the town at the bottom of the hill. He thought about arriving somewhere after a long time at sea. He held all of this in his mind. He faced the distant light for the rest of the night. It was the longest he had sat still since he was a very young dog. His legs stiffened in the cold. His crown caught the moonlight. It held it. At some point between 2 and 3 in the morning, the distant light began to move with more purpose. He watched it for an hour to be sure. It was resolving, finding something, or deciding something, or simply the difficulty passing, the way difficulties sometimes do. By 4, it was moving steadily. By 5, it was making for the harbour. Freddie watched it come in. Not quickly. A careful approach. The lights picked out the channel markers one by one. The ship grew larger as it drew closer. It worked the entrance between the breakwaters in the grey-blue of early morning. He could hear the engines now. They were low and steady. The hull was dark. Containers were stacked amidships. A small bridge light. It passed into the harbour without incident. The morning swallowed it. That was all. Freddie stood. His joints protested slightly. He turned for home. The path down the cliff was cooler than the ascent. The air carried the dampness of before dawn. He passed through the village. The square was empty. The fountain was quiet. Outside Tiempo Honesto, the shutters were still closed. The clock inside would be ticking toward its natural pause. The lavender along Senora Benilde's path met him before he reached the gate. It was soft and certain in the morning air. It was the way it always was at this particular hour. This was true regardless of the season. He stopped and stood in it for a moment. Then he went inside. His human was still asleep. The room was dark. The quality of their breathing was even and deep. Freddie moved quietly to the bed. He hopped up. His legs were very tired now. He looked at the window for a moment. The light was coming slowly. The roofline was catching the first colour of the day. He circled once, twice, 3 times. He lay down. His legs were heavy from the long, cold watch, too heavy to find it interesting. The window was pale now, the day coming up behind it. In the harbour below the village, a cargo ship sat at its berth. The early light was around it. Lines were secure. Engines were quiet. The end. Rest well, Prince Freddie. In the harbour, the cargo ship sits at its berth. Lines secure. Engines quiet.